Hello and welcome to the Gaming Rules monthly video log. Well, actually, this is 3 months worth. Back in 2019, October, the middle of October is the last time that I did my monthly video log. And then basically I put it on hold because things for November and December, I did things a little bit differently. But now it's time to do the video log. Basically, this is going to cover everything that I've done since, I think, October 16th. So it's almost 3 months worth. As of now, the video logs, the monthly video logs are going to return to monthly. So this is the one that I'm doing at the start of January. Hopefully I'll get this edited and out later on today or tomorrow morning. And then, yeah, they're going to be monthly for moving on forwards. So, right, there we go. That's a quick bit of thing. Oh, and Happy New Year as well. To everybody who I haven't wished Happy New Year, and for those people who I have wished Happy New Year again. So yes, let's make a new start for 2020. Wow, which is a new decade. A massive thank you, as always, to all of my Patreon supporters that enabled me to make these videos. I'll probably mention it later on in the video, but if you like the content that I create, either these video logs or any of the other videos that I do, please consider supporting me over at patreon.com. More on the details of what you can win later on. So the first thing is to talk about all the games that I've played. Now, because this is 3 months worth of a video log, and I played more games in November and December than I did any other time in the year, this is going to be quite long. Normally my video logs are usually about 30 to 40 minutes long, and people can generally watch them in one sitting. This one, not so much, because I think I have 54 games that I want to talk about. Wow, that's 54 different games. Some of those I've played multiple times. So we're going to be here for a while. What I will do is I will just carry on talking, and obviously if you need to watch this video log over multiple sittings or skip past the games you're not interested in, feel free to do so. Right, let's crack on. These are in alphabetical order. I didn't do them in date order. I possibly should have done. So this is a 3 month list of everything that I've played that I can remember in alphabetical order. And it's going to be at various times. So I'm going to start with Arkham Horror, the card game. Now, we're currently playing through the Arkham Horror card game in a series of live streams. And this morning, I've just planned the next one. So we did Night of the Zealot. It's me, Emily, Andy and Alan. We're 4 of us, we're playing it. Everyone is being live streamed. I've got down that I played it 4 times in the period of October 16th to present day. Now, we've actually done the first 3 of Carcosa. So the first one of these 4 must have been us finishing off the Night of the Zealot campaign. And the other 3 are the Path to Carcosa. Well, as I say, we're live streaming all of them. We are 3 chapters in, and we're doing chapter 4 later this month. Arkham Horror, the card game. I've spoken about this a number of times on previous video logs. So I'm not going to talk too much about it here, apart from to say that despite its flaws, because I believe that mechanically the game has a number of flaws, as in, how do I define flaws? There's nothing wrong with it, but there are certain things in the game that I don't particularly like in games. However, this is currently one of my top 5 games of all time. And it's really unusual for me to say that and love this game so much and want to play this game so much when it has these mechanics. What's a mechanic? These mechanics in there, which I really don't like. To give you an idea, it's not roll for resolution, but it is draw a thing out of the bag. And you can put in all of the effort, you can spend cards to boost your skill check, you can get the help of other people, you can do the planning, and then you reach into the bag, draw a token, and it could be the tentacle, which means it's an auto fail. Or you could spend lots of resources so that you're at a +4, and then you draw out a +1, so you'd have succeeded anyway and you save the cards, right? So it is in effect roll for resolution, which I'm not a big fan of. The other problem is that it's a card game and your character has various bits of equipment with them, but it's cards in the deck. You can go an entire scenario and not draw your gun, which makes no sense thematically. Oh, where's my magnifying glass? I thought I brought it. Oh yeah, well, I've got to wait to draw the card. That makes absolutely no sense mechanically. So they're the 2 biggest problems with the game, but I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of playing it. I think it's fantastic. It tells an amazing story. It's a truly immersive narrative experience, and the rest of the game mechanics I absolutely love. I think it's fantastic. So anyway, we are 3 chapters into the Path to Carcosa. Absolutely loving it. Chapter 4 will be later on this month. Next, Cloudspire. That's next on the list in alphabetical order. Cloudspire. Now, the last time I did a video log in October, I talked a little bit about Cloudspire because I just started playing it. And at the time, I remember I put my head in my hands and I was like, oh my God, what do I say about Cloudspire? Because the game gripped me so much that all I wanted to do was just take a week off work and play Cloudspire in order to get my head around it, in order to learn the intricacies and everything else. I've got 4 plays of it since my last video log, and 3 of those were on the 28th of December when I hosted a games day at Gaming Rules HQ, and all I did was play Cloudspire all day, which was my plan. And I would love, I'm in exactly the same boat now as I was 3 months ago. If I could, I would take this week off and just play Cloudspire. Because the game is fantastic. It's not for everybody. There's things in there which people might not like in a game. It is quite long. It is a bit fiddly. There's lots of exceptions to the rules. But I love it, and it is one of my top games of the year because it does something unique and different, and it's special. And yeah, Cloudspire, absolutely fantastic. Chip theory games. I'm in the middle of painting the spires at the moment. I'll put some images on screen now so you can see the progress that I'm currently making with painting the miniatures that come with they don't come with the base game, it's with the expansion set. I'm hoping to get these finished for HandyCon because I'm taking the game with me to HandyCon, and I've got a couple of games planned there at HandyCon. Anyway, Cloudspire. I'm not due to do a review of this. I am due to do a sponsored tutorial and playthrough video of it at some point. But yeah, one of my games of the year, if not my game of the year. Yeah, there you go. Right, that's Cloudspire. Next up, so these are in alphabetical order. It's all positive so far. The next one is Cooper Island, which is also one of my games of the year. In fact, I'd played Maracaibo, and the first time I played Maracaibo, I went, right, called it, game of the year, definitely. Then I played Cooper Island, and I went, okay, this is better. Cooper Island is up there in one of my top games of the last year, no doubt. I've played it 4 times in the last 3 months. I did it 2-player, I've then done it 3-player, I've done it 4-player, and I've done a solo game. So I've played all player counts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I am due to play that again, either once or twice at HandyCon, and I'm due to do a review of it. My Patreon supporters have voted. The 2 games that I'm going to be reviewing this month are Cooper Island. So I'm gonna wrap this up briefly. Later on this month, I will be doing a full review video for it, but spoilers, I think it's fantastic. Right, next. Bus. A 20-year-old game that was reprinted this year, originally from Splotter. Capstone Games got involved last year, and they reprinted it. It's a 20th year anniversary edition. It is the same game. They've updated the graphics, they've updated all of the graphic design, and they've obviously clarified the rulebook, but the game itself is exactly the same game. I have played it 3 times. I learned how to play the game, then we played it on the video, and I've since played it again, and I've actually taught another group how to play, which doesn't count as me playing it. Anyway. So again, I'm not due to do a review of this one, so I can talk to you about it, and I really like this game, and I do want to play it again. It is simple rules. Okay, not that simple, but simple-ish rules for a game with a lot of depth. It's not too long. The downsides are it's 3 to 5 players, so there isn't a 2-player mode. Me and Paul actually tried playing it 2-player and trying to dummy the 3rd player, which worked for the purposes of us learning the game, but yeah, it didn't work. The decisions you make in this game are very similar to other Splotter games. You can make one false move and it's game over. It's very clever in the way that it works. You're building up transport routes around a city. You're trying to get the passengers to move along your track, very similar to a lot of pick up and deliver train games. But it's quite unique in the way that it works, in the way that the people move around. First they want to go to work, they want to come home. Then they want to go to the pub, then you want to go home. And there's a crazy scientist in town who can stop time. Which makes absolutely no sense when you're explaining the game, but it does. The game is genius and it's really good. I have done a video on it. In fact, I have done a video on Arkham Horror the card game, Cloudspire, Cooper Island and Bus. So the last 4 games that I've talked about, if you want to know more, go and check out the videos for that. Right, next up is no D's, no E's, Fast Sloths, which is apparently sloths and not sloths. I spent most of my life thinking it was sloth, but it's not, it's just sloth. Fast Sloths is the latest game from Freedom and Freezer. 2F Spieler is the publisher, Stronghold Games in America. Friedemann Friese is a crazy genius. Like a lot of other exceptional games designers, he's crazy and he likes to do different things. And the thing that he's done with this game is it's a pick up and deliver game, but you are a sloth and you're so lazy, you don't move around the board. You have different animals. There are 12 animals included in the game and you choose 6 of them to play the game with. And you play cards to move those animals around the board. Each one has a special ability and they pick you up and they deliver you to where you're trying to get to. I quite like it. It plays in about 45 minutes, so that's a nice sweet spot. The game has a high variability because there's 12 different animals and you play with 6 of them. There's different configurations of the boards, so games will play out differently depending on what you've got in. It kind of fits in a nice area that it's not, I probably wouldn't play it as a gateway game. It's kind of a gateway plus, but yeah, because of the time it takes to play the game, I quite like it. So that's Fast Sloths. The next one is Flick of Faith, a game which I was thoroughly expecting to not like because it's a dexterity game and you're flicking pieces across a board. Just have a drink. So yeah, I was thoroughly expecting not to like it. Awaken Realms Light is the publisher, which is an offshoot of Awaken Realms. And they basically sold it to me at Essenspiel saying, this is the best game ever, you'll never need to play another game ever again. They do that, Awaken Realms Light. I like their marketing. On the side of Siege Storm, the card game, it says probably the best card game, or no, the best card game ever designed, and on the other side, probably, or something like that. Anyway, it's actually quite good. It's quite fun, and it's the first game I played in 2020. Just after midnight, me and Ian had a quick 2-player game of Flick of Faith. I've played it 3 times. I've played it more than 3 times. I think I've played it about 4 or 5 times, and we're actually playing it this Friday live. I'm doing a live stream this Friday where we're doing 2 games, and that's going to be one of them. So Flick of Faith, yeah, you're flicking pieces across the board. You're trying to get them into certain positions, which allow you to build temples. It's kind of area control. And then you'll score points for the temples, but each race or each god has a special power which allows you to change the rules. It's fun, it's quick, and it works really well as a game. There's one bit in the rulebook that's not really clear, and I spoke to them about it yesterday and they went, yeah, we know that's not really clear, so great, they're going to fix that. Next up is Gloom Haven. So I've got 3 recorded sessions of Gloom Haven. We are now over 3 years into playing our Gloom Haven campaign. Other people have finished the entire thing. We're playing on average once every 3 weeks. Sometimes it's once every 2 weeks, and sometimes it might be 4, 5, or even, I think there was one time last year where it was nearly 2 months before we were able to play. Because we've all got busy schedules and fitting it in. We've actually got a game planned for this Sunday, so I'm due to be playing it this Sunday. We're still loving Gloom Haven. It's the same 4 people. It's me, Vicky, Mark and Sally. Without giving any spoilers away, we finished the main storyline ages ago. We're now on one of the secondary storylines in the mountains to the north. I won't say too much more. My character is level 8, might be going to level 9. I'm playing a character which is not one of the basic ones. So I can't say too much about that other than he goes invisible a lot. He likes the dark and he goes invisible a lot, and I'm loving the character. Much better than my previous character. I didn't really get on with that one. And we're still playing it, we're still loving it. Yeah, the town is like prosperity level 7 now, so we're quite advanced. All of our characters are level 7 and 8, and I think one's 9. And we're just doing our personal quests and doing more characters and continuing with the different storylines. So yeah, we're 3 years in, we're probably about 45 sessions into the campaign. We've still got more to do, we've still got more to play. There's so many things we haven't done yet. We're going to be playing this for quite a bit longer, and we haven't even started on the expansion yet. Right, that's Gloom Haven. Next up, one of my other top games for 2019, and this is Marvel Champions, the card game. When this was announced at Gen Con, I almost fell off my chair because, as I've mentioned previously, Arkham Horror Card Game, one of my top 5 games at the moment. Absolutely loving it. This is a cooperative LCG from Fantasy Flight based on the Marvel Universe that I love. And obviously love the films, reading the comics. Yeah, big Marvel fan. So I was very much looking forward to this game. And then I played it, and the more I played it, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I absolutely love this game, and again, can't play it enough, can't get enough of it. I've done 6 videos on the game. I've done 5 solo playthroughs covering the 5 basic characters, and then I did a multiplayer playthrough that unfortunately we ran out of time for, where we took on Ultron. Love the game, think it's fantastic, got the expansion sets for Christmas, haven't had a chance to touch them yet, but yeah, Marvel Champions, the card game, love it. Next up, now why is this? Okay, I thought I'd sorted this in alphabetical order, so apologies, it's not in alphabetical order. It was until now, and then we have Adventure Games Monochrome Ink. I have 2 recorded plays of this because we played it in 2 different sessions. I've talked a little bit about this. Me and Rick did a video just before Christmas on escape room games. It was a really good show. If you're interested in our thought on the Exit series, the Unlock series, any kind of puzzle adventure room type games, go and watch that video. Please, it doesn't have that many views. Yeah, it was a really good show, I think, and we talked about it a lot. And we talked about the adventure games in there. Really enjoyed this one. Designer is Matthew Dunstan designed this one. The other one in the series is The Dungeon, which is Phil Walker Harding, yeah. We've not done that one yet, me and Vicky, but we want to. So yeah, we took 2 sessions to do this. Total playtime was probably about 3.5 hours, I think. And it's basically, it's not like an escape room game. This isn't really a series of puzzles. It's more like a choose your own adventure book with some sort of mystery and things that you need to work out. Anyway, that's that one. So next, not in alphabetical order, I don't know what's happened here, I definitely sorted it, is Coloma. So, I did a couple of sponsored playthrough videos for Final Frontier games in November, December. One of them was Coloma, which is a 2 to 6 player game, although I think it has a solo mode. Johnny Pike Cantin is the designer, published by Final Frontier Games, released at Essen Spiel, I think it was a Kickstarter as well. Played it, really like it. I played it twice because we played a game in the afternoon to learn how to play, and then we played a game on the live stream. So again, if you want to know more about that, didn't do a review of it, but I did a playthrough video of it. Cowboy theme, very interesting action selection thing. Well, I say very interesting. It's got a magnetic bit, which is unique, but essentially you choose which of the areas you want to go to for the turn. And then how that action plays out for you depends on how many of the other players went to it. A few other games have used that mechanism before, but it works quite well in this one. So yeah, that's Coloma. I enjoyed that game. I would definitely happily play that one again. Next up, well, let's talk about this. It's not in alphabetical order. A Fistful of Maples is the other game that I did for Final Frontier. And again, I've done a playthrough video of that as well. So if you want to see that being taught and played on the channel, that is up there already. Fistful of Maples is a nice little game. It takes about 40-45 minutes to play. Again, it's another cowboy theme, designed again by Johnny Pike Cantin. And it's kind of like a Mancala game. You pick up a load of pieces, you then move them around the board and drop them off. And you've got miners that mine and get gold, and then you've got robbers that rob from the miners, and then you've got sheriffs that arrest the robbers, and then you've got the madam that puts the builders back in the saloon. It's quite nice. I've played it, according to this, I've played it 2 times. I think I've played it about 5 times, though I've been getting the rules wrong. Most of the time, oh, that sounds like a cat. Yeah. Most of the time I've been getting the rules wrong. A slight rule wrong each time. The first time I played it was in Essen, where I was taught how to play by Isaac Childress, who'd read the rule book in a dark bar and then taught us how to play. We got a couple of rules wrong then. Hey Thor. Thor's come to say hello. Hello you. You coming up? You don't normally come up. It's normally Loki that comes up. Look. Oh God, you're big and heavy. It's the monthly video log, which Loki's normally on. Absolutely not fussed at all. Right, you go down. There you go. Where are we up to? I'll leave that there, actually. What was I talking about? Yeah, Fistful of Maples, yeah. Then the next game I played, I did something else wrong. Then the next game I played, something else wrong. And then after 3 games, I read the rulebook again. I was like, wait a minute. It says here that when you place that on a space, it's the owner of the building that gets to draw the cubes, not you. And I was like, oh, that changes everything. So we enjoyed the game in all the times we've played it. But now that I've actually played it with the correct rules, it plays even better, believe it or not. Yeah, games played with the correct rules are even better. So anyway, Fistful of Maples, nice little game. Again, videos on the channel. Next, Escape Tales Low Memory. You're going to hear me say the videos on the channel a lot, because in November and December I did a huge amount of live playthroughs. So a lot of these games that I'm talking about now are for games that I live streamed. Escape Tales Low Memory is an escape room style game. It's by Board and Dice. This is the second one in a series. The Awakening is the first one in the series, which I don't have, but I do have Low Memory. So I've done 2 videos on it. The first one is a tutorial video, which is me playing through the tutorial that comes with the game. Then, it's actually technically 3, because then me and Vicky sat down and we started playing it. We played it for about an hour or so. And then what I did is, between Christmas and New Year, I did a live interactive stream of an escape room game. So I'd already played through the first bit of it. What I did is I did an interactive stream where people in the chat solved the puzzles and I just put the cards out and went to wherever they wanted me to go. That went really well. So thank you very much to everybody who took part in that. It was a bit of an experiment, but I thought it worked quite well. And again, that video is on the channel as well, but because it's an escape room game, spoilers. I'd watch the tutorial, maybe not even watch all of the tutorial, because there are actually a couple of puzzles in the tutorial you might want to solve yourself. Right, next. I have Honshu down on my list, and I've got it down twice. And the reason why Honshu is down on the list is I host the Coloma Games group, which is twice a month, and Honshu is one of those games which I take with me some weeks, put it in the bag because it's a fairly quick game and easy to teach. And a couple of times in November and December, the game came out and got played. The first time it came out, I remember I had to look at the rules and go, because it's been, what, a year since I'd last played it, and I was like, oh, I'm sure it'll come back to me, but I'd actually completely forgotten how to play. Thankfully, it did all come back to me because it's a relatively simple game. And then 2 weeks later at the next club meeting, we played again. So yeah, Honshu, can't remember who the designer of this is, but it's published by LOTR, and I think Stronghold Games as well. And yeah, I really like Honshu. Very good game. Next is Maracaibo, which, as I mentioned earlier on, after my first play of the game, I said, this is my game of the year. It's not my game of the year, I don't think, although I need to play it a bit more. I only have 2 recorded plays of it. It feels like I've played it 3 times, but I've only got 2 recorded plays, and both of those went out on a video. The first video was, and if you like my videos to be very, very tight and good tutorials and properly done, my video that I did for Maracaibo, which was a tutorial and playthrough, is not that. What happened is 3 other people came round, we sat down to play Maracaibo, none of us had played it before, and we'd all just read the rules. One person hadn't read the rules, I'd browsed the rules, somebody else had watched a video, and between us, we worked out how to play. So the video is there on the channel and you can learn how to play, but I'll tell you now, it isn't a very good tutorial video. It wasn't sponsored, it was done purely for fun or through the Patreon campaign. But that video is up there. I then did a solo playthrough of the game because it has a solo mode as well. Loving it so far. And this is the second game that my Patreon supporters have voted on that I will be reviewing this month. So watch out for on my channel for the end of the month when I will be doing a review of Maracaibo. I think I've got 2 games of it planned at HandyCon. I want to play it more. So far, I'm liking it, and I need to play it more to see, yeah, just more details about it. Right, next up, have another drink. My Abbey is next on my list. And again, I've done a video on this. My Abbey is a game from Haber Games. Now, Haber do a lot of yellow box kids games. They also do a range of family weight games as well. And My Abbey is one of their later ones. It's designed by Michael Kiesling, who is a designer that was around when I really started getting into board games in the late 90s. Kiesling and Kramer have done a lot of games together. This is Kiesling on his own. This is a great game. It's really good. We learned how to play and then played it, and it was so good, it was the Games Club in Coloma that evening, I then played it again. And we haven't used any of the expansions yet. So again, if you want to know more, there is a tutorial and playthrough video on my channel of it. It is a Japanese garden themed game where you're basically placing tiles in a thing, you're building them up on the levels to score points based on the level that they are. It's just really nice. Good gateway game, solid gameplay. Currently can't fault it. It's just really good game. Rulebook is good. As I say, we learned how to play from the rulebook, had no questions whatsoever. Production quality was good. My Abbey, go and check that out. I know a couple of people, Graham Charlton was watching the live stream and then ordered it from Germany, like straight away. And it's one of his favourite games of the year, I think. I think you said it was, Graham. Yeah, My Abbey, Michael Kiesling, Haber, very good. Next up, Point Salad. Point Salad has been getting a lot of praise. It's by AEG and it's a very little simple game, but it's quick and it's fun. I've got 2 recorded plays of it. I think I've played it more. Maybe I did only play it twice in the last 3 months, but I know I've played it 5, 6, 7 times because it takes about 15, 20 minutes. Obviously, it's a play upon the point salad style games. You're collecting vegetables and you're also collecting scoring cards that will tell you how those vegetables score. So at the start of the game, if you don't have any scoring cards, you're not scoring any points. You have to get the right mix of scoring cards, plus the vegetables to match up to score your points. Fairly simple card game. The cards aren't that good a quality, they're a bit thin, but the game itself is really good. So Point Salad, if you're looking for a quick 15-20 minute game, check that out. Now, New Year's Eve, played a few fun games on New Year's Eve, and one of the games I've got down is Wibble++, from Stuff by Bez, and actually the box with Wibble in has got 5 games in there. Wibble is just one of those games, and we played that, but we played a new version of it. Bez sent me the updated rules for the new version. Hello, Loki. Yeah, you're a bit noisier than Thor, aren't you? Are you coming up? Do you want some camera time? Yeah, you want some as well, don't you? Otherwise, everybody just thinks I'm staring at the floor and talking to the floor. There you go. So this is Loki, who's a bit wriggly. I call you Mr. Wriggly Pants, don't I? Yeah? There you go. You're going to stay there for a bit? But you're hiding behind the laptop, nobody can see you. There you go. Right, you stay there for a minute before you get bored and wander off. Anyway, Wibble++. So the other thing, the actual game Wibble++ is simply a deck of cards with 2 letters on, some numbers and some symbols. There are a number of different games that you can play, there you go, with that set of cards. And Bez sent me a new one on New Year's, or the day before New Year's Eve. She sent me the rules for Categorical, which is a tug-of-war team-based game using the Wibble cards. And it's my favourite of all the Wibble games. It was really good. Played that New Year's Eve. I think we played 2 games of it as well. Yeah, just really good. I like team games, but it worked really well. So that's Wibble++. If you have Wibble, or Wibble++, ask Bez for the rules for Categorical, or they might be online somewhere. They're really good. Next up, I have Ons End War Eternal, or Ons End, and I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyway, Ons End is a really interesting game because I've played it once and that's it. And in fact, that game there, we never actually finished. So I haven't actually played a full game of Ons End yet. I do have the computer version and I've played the computer version solo a few times. So I know the game, I know how it works. But whenever anybody asks online in Facebook groups now, what is your favourite deck builder that can be played solo, I'm like, Ons End. Although I haven't actually played a full game of it yet, I've played enough of it to know that this game is fantastic. Now, I have a copy of War Eternal, and I've actually promised myself today, because filming these video logs, I know I'm not going to go into too much details, but I have a lot of anxiety around filming these videos, and yesterday I had to do a lot of prep for it. I have set myself a target. If I get this video log done today, I'm going to treat myself to a game of Ons End War Eternal. I'm not going to video it or anything like that. I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to play it as a bit of a reward. I think the gameplay is fantastic. And this is a game, I've got War Eternal, but I think there's like 4 boxes and then there's Ons End Legacy. I need to get more into this game. It is a deck builder. It's a cooperative deck builder. So if you don't like deck building games, you're probably not going to like it anyway, but it does something really clever. You're building a deck, you're all mages, you're focusing these breaches, you're fighting a nemesis. There's multiple different characters with multiple different abilities. The variability in the setup is massive. Yeah, just really, really enjoying it and want to play more of it. Right, next up, he says, Age of Steam. Now, Age of Steam is a game that I played when it came out. Whenever that was. 20 years ago? Something like that? Maybe? Maybe not. Maybe 17 years ago, something like that. The original game of Age of Steam, when it came out. Barry got it. I was in Hemel at the time. We played it a couple of times. I didn't get on with it. I didn't get on with it for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I'm terrible at it. It's a game about building routes and shipping goods. And at the start of the game, you're going to be shipping goods a distance of maybe 1 or 2. As the game goes on, you're going to be shipping goods a distance of like 4, 5 and 6. And it's all about building the routes to set up for the late game. And the problem that I have with it is I always think just short term. So we're at the end of the game and my opponents are all shipping goods and getting 5 and 6 and I'm shipping goods for 1 and 2. So that was one reason why I personally didn't like it, because I just couldn't seem to get on with it. The other reason I didn't like it is Age of Steam spawned a series of games, which is Age of Steam, Steam, and then Railroad Tycoon, which was then renamed Railways of the World. They all follow the same basic mechanisms, but with a number of tweaks. And I've played Steam a few times, and I think I preferred Steam. And there's a few things about Steam which I preferred to Age of Steam, but there was things in Age of Steam that I prefer. Anyway, the perfect game for me would be a combination of the two things. Anyway, Eagle Griffin Games, who are clients of mine, gave me a copy of the new Age of Steam at Essen this year as a thank you for the things that I've done for them. And I was like, right. Because although I've said I didn't like Age of Steam and I preferred Steam, Age of Steam for the last couple of years has actually been on my mind as this is a game I actually want to play more of. Because I've changed as a gamer. Things have moved on. Cats running across the garden. Oh, they're chasing each other. Oh, it's nice to see. Yeah, they're fighting. Well, chasing each other around the garden. Age of Steam, yeah. So we sat down and we played it. Now, again, this is another live stream. So me, Tom and Paul, we sat down and we played a 3-player Age of Steam using a very strange map. It was the Pennsylvania map. I had a decision to make. Do I do a live playthrough using the bog standard simple map with the normal rules? But because that had been done on other channels, I wanted to do something a bit different. We played Pennsylvania, which for me, considering that I was effectively relearning the game from scratch, I thought this doesn't matter that it's a completely different map. Anyway, Pennsylvania is weird, really weird. Straights, which are normally $2 to build, cost 10. Curves cost 3, which is normal. But building into cities is nothing, which is used to cost lots of money. So it's a very, very different feel. Now, we played the game and I'm glad I've played it again and I enjoyed it and I want to play more of it. My caveat is that game lasted, I think, 8 rounds and was actually over by round 3. By round 3, it was clear I was going to win because I'd got a good start and it was clear Paul was completely screwed and was going to lose. And then we played for another 2 hours and I won and Paul came last. That was pretty much decided by round 3. I need to play it again to see if that happens again. And if it does, then I don't know. I'm not sure about it. But I want to play more. I've got loads of maps. I definitely want to play it more. So I'm keen to play more of it. I appreciate the mechanisms within the game. I like the gameplay. I'm just not sure, as I say, from my limited play experience of it, our play was probably a little bit distorted. Paul and Tom agreed that they shouldn't have got into a bidding war at the start. That gave me a bit of an advantage, and I just kept that advantage through the whole game and didn't... I just needed to play okay for the rest of the game. I didn't really need to do much. I just needed to keep it going, whereas Paul was struggling to not go bankrupt because he'd messed up the start. Anyway, Age of Steam. Next up is Assembly, which is a 1 to 2 player game, I think. So this is by Wren Games. Janice and Stu designed this. They're based in Southampton, UK designers. There's 2 in the series. There's Assembly and there's Sensor Ghost. And I'm going to talk about them both together. Now, they're both games that can be played solo, but they're also can be played 2-player. I actually have played now Assembly. I've got 1 recorded play of it. That's not true. I have played it twice because I played it solo in a video. So if you want to see me doing a live solo playthrough of Assembly, you can see that. And then over Christmas and between Christmas and New Year, I played it 2-player with Vicky, and I've forgotten to record that one. I did prefer the 2-player version. A couple of reasons. I like playing games with somebody else rather than just solo, but also I felt that the 2-player version of, I want to do this order, can you confirm that? Yes, I can confirm that. Okay, that worked really well. Anyway, Assembly is a game set on a space station. It's been hit by meteorites. All the crew have died except for you, and you've got to basically build a ship and escape. That's quite good. As I say, if you want to see a video of it, that's on the channel now. Different difficulty settings so you can configure it, which is also nice, and there's a point system as well, which is good. Sensor Ghosts is the follow-up, and Sensor Ghosts was delivered to Kickstarter backers this year. In Sensor Ghosts, it's part of the same story. You're now on your spaceship, trying to arrive back to Earth, but it's quarantined. They're not going to let you in until you've got a copy of the virus. You've got to get to Earth in time with a copy of the virus. Although the games are designed by the same designer, and they are, again, they're solo games that can be played 2-player, and I think with an expansion, with 2 copies you can play 4-player, I think. They're very different mechanically. They use the same card system of playing cards and you go through the deck, but the second one is very different. And I've done a video on that as well. So in Sensor Ghost, it has a bit of a memory element to the game, which personally I'm not keen on, so I think I would prefer... it wasn't as bad as I expected, but I think I prefer Assembly out of the 2. Anyway, that's Assembly and Sensor Ghosts, 1 play of each. Check them out on the channel. Next up, Bloomtown. Now this is interesting, this, because I only played Bloomtown at Essen. So in fact, yeah, if my last video log was the middle of October, I've been to Essen since then. Wow, and I wasn't even going to talk about Essen in this video log, but I will later on. Right, so Bloomtown. We played that on the Wednesday night. I picked up a copy from Sidekick Games on the Wednesday at Essen. Again, sat in the bar in Motel 1, Isaac Childress read the rules of it and then taught us how to play. It's been a while since I played it, and it was late at night. I can remember quite liking it. It is a light game. It's a gateway game. Sidekick Games, Daniel and Asger, they're good at designing lighter family weight games. They've done Deep Blue. They've done Bloomtown. It's a tile laying game where you're basically building up a little city, but then you're limited on what other tiles you can take in future. I've only played it once. I need to play it again. So that's Bloomtown. Not much information about that. Apologies, it's been so long ago. Next up, Cartographers. Now, Tim from Thunderworks Games got me a copy of Cartographers, an ex-demo copy at Gen Con. And I've only just got around to showing it on the channel. So apologies for that. I did get around to it eventually, but not last week. A couple of weeks ago now. Yeah, I think it was just before Christmas. I've done a live tutorial and playthrough video for Cartographers. It's a role-player tale, so it's a roll and write game set in the role-player universe. There's a lot of roll and write games out there. I quite like this one because it did something a little bit different. I find some of the roll and write games a little bit too complex, and roll and write for me is a perfect family weight gateway type game, and Cartographers is just that. Lots of people have said lots of good things about this game. I was looking forward to playing it, and I did enjoy it, and I definitely want to play this again. It's a really nice bit where you have these monsters attack, and you give your pad to another player, and they draw the monsters on your board. So there is a bit of player interaction in that way, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels really good. Cartographers, a role-player tale from Thunderworks Games. How are we doing for time? 40 minutes. You still with me? Have a break. Come back tomorrow if you need to. Next up, Kahless 1303. Well, if you follow me, you'll know Kahless is one of my favourite games of all time, and Kahless 1303 is fantastic. I absolutely love the game. Even though Space Cowboys are a client, I was involved in the rulebook, and the video playthrough that I did of it, which is on the channel, was a sponsored one. But everybody knows I love Kahless, and I love the new version of it. So that's Kahless 1303. Yeah, now, if you like written articles, I would recommend, I'll put a link in the show notes. I was asked to write an article on Kahless 13, or well, Kahless as a game, and I wrote that article for the Spirit of Games magazine. It's a free magazine, you can find it online. I'll put a link to it in the show notes below. Please go and check it out. It's because I got the first edition of Kahless the year it came out at Essen. It was one of my favourite games. For a time, it was my favourite game, and I've been involved with this game, and I got involved in the new version. So the article isn't really a review of the game, it's more my story with the Kahless game. And at Essen, I got invited to be on the Asmodee live stream, where I got to teach the Asmodee people and sat next to William Attier, the designer of the game, who's like a hero of mine. And yeah, that was one of my proudest memorable moments. Is I mean, who'd have thought, you know, 2005 when I went to Essen, got Kahless, played it and liked it, that 14 years later I would be doing the Asmodee live stream with the designer of the game next to me and me actually teaching the new version. So yeah, I was quite pleased with that. Right, next on the list is Codenames, which I actually got played. When did it get played? So this would have been the start of December, because I hosted my own convention at the end of November called GridCon. More on that later. And my dad and his partner Kath came down to cat sit for us. And then they stayed a couple of days after that, and we played a couple of games with them. And Codenames was one of the games that we played with them. So yeah, great game, really nice, because Kath never played any kind of modern board game. My dad's played Codenames before, so that was a nice game for us to play together. I also have on my list Concept. First game that we played on New Year's Eve. I've not played Concept for a long time, but I brought it downstairs and a couple of people hadn't played it, so we played Concept. It's just a really good, nice, fun, simple party game, and you can play it with kids if you want to. There were no kids at the New Year's Eve party, but we played it anyway, and it's good. I always enjoy playing Concept, which is a game, considering that I like my medium to heavy Euros, people go, Concept? Nah, surely Paul wouldn't like that. No, Paul does like that. Really good. Right, next up, Dedeoe Cheng, 2nd edition. So this is one of the games that I brought back from Essen Spiel. I'd heard good things about it. Tony Boydell said the game was great and that the 2nd edition was even better. It's from Taiwan Board Games. Taiwan Board Games Design? Yeah, TBD, I think it is. Anyway, I have a contact there, Smooks, and he basically got me a copy of this, and I did a 2-player video, tutorial, and playthrough of it. This is a game which I wasn't actually too keen on. Part of that was the rulebook. Unfortunately, the rulebook in a few places wasn't clear. Possibly a translation issue, but some things were just really weirdly worded, and I'm not actually sure if we were playing it correct or not. There's one rule which I've asked on BGG and I still haven't really had an answer to about what happens in this situation. Go and watch the video. For me, don't know, the game wasn't really for me. It was a little bit too abstract, and it was a little bit, and I'm not that much of a fan of abstract games, and it definitely felt like an abstract game, making lines of tiles, turning them over to try and then set up another pattern which advances you on a board. Yeah, not for me personally. Paul really liked it. Yeah, I just wasn't too keen on it, and as I say, I like games where the rules are clear and I'm comfortable and I know what we're doing is right. Anyway, next up is Era, Medieval Age, Matt Leacock, Plan B Games. Now, the story behind this game and why it took so long for me to feature it on the channel is Plan B got me a copy of this game at Gen Con. I didn't have space in my suitcase to bring all of my games back from Gen Con, so I had to make a decision of which games to leave. And unfortunately, Era, Medieval Age didn't make the cut. So I left it with a friend in America, and then he works for CGE. He's going to Essen, so he brought it with him to Essen. I picked it up from him at Essen and brought it home with me. At least that was the plan, but he'd accidentally left it in Prague. So it went from Indianapolis to Prague, and then CGE had to send me some stuff after Essen anyway, so they just sent it to me. And eventually I got it, and I've done a video of that on the channel. So that is there. It's a little bit like Matt Leacock's older game, Roll Through the Ages, but with chunky plastic pieces and you're actually building a board up. I've got one play of it here. That's not right. I think I've played it 3 times and I like it. I think it's a pretty good game, and I know it's got a lot of plastic in, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it's got way too much plastic in. I know that is a problem, but the game itself mechanically is a good game and I quite like it. It's got dice rolling in it. You can get lucky, you can get screwed. That's the game, okay? I'm not saying it's amazing, because you can get very unlucky with the dice. Even though you get 3 re-rolls, you can still get very unlucky with it. But I quite like it. I have the original version of the game, and I didn't realise there was a production issue, and Plan B were giving out stickers for you to put over your boards because you can't actually see what's printed on them. I didn't have that, and I wasn't aware of that until I opened it up ready to do the stream and ended up having to paint in all of the numbers on the thing, which took ages. Anyway, I need to get some stickers for it. So that's Era, Medieval Age. Next up, Expedition to Newdale, which if I was to make a game, a list of games that I want to play more of, Expedition to Newdale is one of them. I've only played one of them. That was me and Paul playing live on camera again. I'll say it again, videos on the channel. It's a tutorial and playthrough video of Expedition to Newdale. I've only played it once. I've only played it 2-player. There's a campaign mode. I liked it. I want to play it more. There is an element in the game of... It's not push your luck, is it? No, it's like gambling in a way. And I spoke to Frank West from City of Games about it at the airport on the way back from Essen, because he'd played it and he felt it was way too random. So I went into the game expecting it was going to have this massive random element. And the randomness in it is, you see which workers are going to be available for that turn, and then you have to decide for each of your factories or each of your buildings that you're going to operate, whether you're going to operate them at low efficiency or high efficiency, or basically you're having to take a bit of a guess as to what workers are going to be available. And you can play it safe and you can say, I'm just going to run this factory low. So if the right workers don't come out, I can still run it, but I'm not going to get much production. Or you could take a risk. That's it, risk taking. You could say, oh, I'm going to run this factory at maximum capacity, but if the workers don't come out, it won't run at all. But if they do come out, you'll get 4 production instead of 1. So it can be a bit swingy, and it is effectively, yeah, risk taking and a little bit of gambling because you don't know exactly what's going to come out. In the one game I played, it wasn't too much of a problem, but I can see games where somebody might take risks and be successful and get loads more resources and win, and then somebody else make the risks, not be successful, don't get the resources and not do very well. But as I say, I need to play it more to see how much of an issue that is, if indeed it is that big of an issue. So that's Expedition to Newdale. I definitely want to play more of it. Next up, Flick Fleet, which every time I search for it on BGG, I can never find it because it's one word, Flick Fleet. And according to this list, I have one recorded player, Flick Fleet, which can't be true because I'm sure I've played it more than that. But then again, I've been teaching it a lot. So Flick Fleet is a game from Jackson Pope and Paul Wilcox, UK designers, self-published. Not just self-published, self-made. He makes them himself. He's bought a laser cutter, cuts all of the plastic pieces and everything else. This is another flicky dexterity game that I was expecting to just be silly nonsense, flicking, blowing each other up. It's not. It's actually quite tactical in the way that where you move your ships, what you attack, where you fire, and things like that. I've done a video on it. I did a video on it for the second Kickstarter campaign. So if you want to see me and Rick play through a game, you can see that. I have actually played it about 4 or 5 times now in total, and I really like it. It's a 20-minute game, unless you do what I did at GridCon, which is get a big game on a 6-foot by 3.5-foot table with 6 people with all of the ships from one set and some from another set, and it took us about 2 hours. It's supposed to be a 20-30 minute game, and it should be, but it does, if you really want to, you can go to a 2-hour game on a massive table with 3 people per side, and it was really good fun. It just took a couple of hours. So that's Flick Fleet, flicking little plastic spaceships and dice at each other, and yeah, quite tactical. Next up is Flotilla. Now, I've only played one game of Flotilla, and I am due to play it again at HandyCon, weekend after next. Because after the first game, I was intrigued, and I wanted to play a second game. Flotilla is from WizKids Games. It's unusual. It does something which hasn't been done, I believe, before. I think it's 3 to 4 players, maybe 3 to 5 players, maybe 3 to 5. Joe Lady described it on Instagram this week as bonkers, I think, and it is. Now, it's a long game. That's the problem with it. This game is going to be restricted on its audience because of the play time. It is a bit long. There's some issues with the game with regards to the rules and errata on some of the pieces. Check out BGG. If you have this game or you're interested in getting this game, the fixes are easy fixes. Just make sure you go onto BGG to make sure you know what those fixes are. But the game is interesting. The game is kind of, it's basically like Waterworld, the game. The human race has been wiped out, water levels have risen, and the only thing that's left of humanity is living on this like island made of bits. At the start of the game, you're all traders. You've got these boats and you're going out and you're diving and you're finding stuff and you're selling it on the market to get money and you're doing stuff. At some point in the game, you can switch roles and become like a sky captain, or you can go sky side, which basically means you're doing a totally different thing. you're building a completely different section, you're buying resources from the market, and you're getting points in a completely different way. And what's really interesting about the game is that you can switch whenever you want, but you don't have to switch. You could spend the entire game as a seasider. No, that's not the term, but anyway. Or you could switch on turn 1 straight away. So it's really interesting, it's really clever. There's nothing else that does it like that, as far as I know. And what I found interesting about it is the way that the people on the sky side can affect the things that are going on low side, whatever it's called. So on the sky side, one of the things you can do is you can improve the radar. That will get you bonuses, it will get you points. But as you increase the radar, it means the people down below doing the boaty thing, their ability is now increased because you've done that. And the people down below, when they sell things to the market price goes down, which means the people up above are buying from the market and it goes up. It's just really clever. I need to play it more. After I've played it another couple of times, I'll come back to you and say, game's absolutely awful. Or, actually, this game is really good. But as I say, the playtime is going to hold people back. That's going to stop the game reaching a wider audience, which is a shame. Anyway, that's Flotilla. Next up, Flotilla, video on the channel, as is most of these. Frontier Wars is next. How are we doing? We're 52 minutes in. Oh my gosh. I'm about halfway through. I played a lot of games, didn't I? Right, next up, Frontier Wars. So I went to see Van Ryder Games at Essen, because I know AJ and we chatted, and he basically showed us Frontier Wars. Now, on the surface, Frontier Wars is a game which I would avoid like the plague. It's got hexes, it's got little plastic tanks, and you're going around and attacking each other. It's a war game, and I don't play that type of game. However, when AJ started to describing it to me, I was like, okay, I need to have a look at this. And we did. Me, Arthur and Paul, at some time in December, I can't remember exactly when, the video is on the channel. If you are taking a drink every time I say the video's on the channel, you're not going to last very long. Anyway, the video's on the channel, Frontier Wars. We all learned how to play it. So we went away the day before, we all individually read the rulebook, and then we got together to do the video, and we played it live on camera. And we all enjoyed it, and we all said we wanted to play it again. Yes, it's a war game, and yes, we played it 3-player. And 3-player war games traditionally don't work, because 2 people gang up on each other, and then the 3rd person steps in. So I'd probably prefer to play it at 2 or 4, but it's not rolling dice for combat. The combat is actually deterministic. You have a battle board, certain units attack before other units, and it all thematically works. So if you're attacking a place with artillery, the artillery will attack you first. If you are attacking with artillery, your artillery will attack last. So you've really got to look at what units are on the board, what you're going to build, where you're going to attack, and then you have these cards which really mix things up. And it's the cards which make the game, and I'm going to use the word swingy, but I don't mean swingy in a bad way. I mean, if you've planned the attack, and I'm going to move in with 2 planes, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and you've worked it out exactly what's going to happen, and then the opponent plays a card that says anti-aircraft fire, I'll shoot down one of your planes before it gets to drop its infantry, the entire battle changes. Now, it swings the battle, but you knew that the opponent could play a card, so you need to be aware that there are cards in the game that do different things, and you need to be prepared for that. So that's Frontier Wars. I definitely play it again. Different scenarios. We played the basic game, so we weren't using any terrain or anything else. But yeah, not enough time to play all the games I want to play, but I definitely play that one again. So that's Frontier Wars from Van Ryder Games. Next up, Glenmore 2 Chronicles. I was super looking forward to this game because I'm a fan of Glenmore. I have the original version of Glenmore. I've got the German copy, and I know Nils from Funtails Games, and I was basically trying to... I was asking Nils if I could do a playthrough video of it, which I've done. So that's on the channel now, drink. Glenmore 2 Chronicles is an updated version of the original Glenmore. Completely new graphics, completely new components, massive upgrade in a massive box, but it also has these 8 Chronicles in there, which are like little mini expansion sets which you can add on to change the way that the game plays. Now, the base game of Glenmore 2 is different from the original in that there's an extra board. So when you take bits, you can do something on an extra board. That's new. But then these 8 Chronicles change the game as well. In the live video that we did, we used Chronicle number 2, which is the Highlander one, where there's basically a hill. It doesn't change the game that much, but it was a nice little tweak to the game. So yeah, every time you play the game, use a different Chronicle, it'll be a slightly different game. Glenmore 2 Chronicles video on the channel. Back to New Year's Eve, I finally played Just One. I was looking forward to playing Just One because people had described it to me, and I thought this sounds really good, and I played it and it was fantastic. Well-deserving winner of the Spiel des Jahres. I have only played it the once, I've played it just one time, and it was brilliant, and I loved it. And it was a lot of fun, and the game's super clever, and it's super simple, and it works really, really well. Lots of other people have spoken about Just One in so much more detail than me, so I won't go into too much detail, other than it won the German Spiel des Jahres this year. It's a very simple, family, fun, party-style game that's just really good. And I loved it, and I would never say no to a game of that. Next up, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, another game which I really want to play more of. I have played this game in total about 5 times, and I haven't got past chapter 4 because I played it once with one group and we only played chapter 1. Then I played it again with another group and we only played chapter 1. Then I played it myself, solo, but with 2 players, and that got me, I think, to chapter 4. And then in December I did a live stream. So I've actually done a couple of videos on this already, but in December I started what might be a new solo game series of me playing through the game. So I've just done chapter 1, I soloed it, I used 2 characters. People in the Board Game Trading in Chat UK Facebook group voted on which characters I was going to use. Although I think we went with random in the end. So we've got Aragorn, the musician, so he's got a trombone. And we've got Bilbo, who's the hunter, I think. Anyway, the video's on the channel. I've done chapter 1. If I had the time, I would be playing through this more, and I would be playing through the entire campaign, because there's another campaign out now as well. I really like the game. I just, yeah, want to play more of it and haven't got the time. Next up, Lux Aeterna, designed by Tony Boydell, a solo game only. Lux Aeterna came out at Essen Spiel, published by Surprise Stare Games and Frosted Games, and that's on the channel. I did a solo playthrough of it. Quite good. A little bit of a puzzle game. Again, since playing it, I wanted to play it again, and I haven't had a chance. But I do want to play it again. So yeah, check that out. It's a solo game. You're basically on a spaceship, and the systems are all failing, and you've got to try and repair the systems. And you're on a time limit, and stuff happens. There's cards and things like that, and it's quite clever in the way that it works. And as I say, it's a bit of a puzzle aspect, and if you like solo games, you should definitely get it if you like solo games. It plays in about 10 minutes. You're supposed to play it with a timer, so you've got a real-time aspect as well. I didn't play it with a timer, and it didn't take that much longer. So yeah, that was fine. Right, last Friday, I played DAmato. Now, we talked about, the video went out live, and at the end of the video, we talked about the game. So if you want to know more about our thoughts on DAmato, go and check that video out. It went live last Friday. We did the live stream in the afternoon, so it'll be available on the channel now. But DAmato is a game which originally came out in 1986. It is, excuse me, it is entry number 1 on the BGG site. Board Game Geek, entry number 1 is DAmato. DAmato was a game which I think is ahead of its time. It's a game about German politics. It goes on for ages. It's very dry, and it is your absolutely typical Euro game. Now, I remember wanting to play this game since I got into gaming, and then eventually I had a chance to play it about 15 years ago and hated it. I was taught how to play by a good friend of mine, Tim, who brought it down. Tim's a big fan of the game. I played it, Phil played it. Can't remember who else was in the game. We got 2.5 rounds in out of like 7 or something crazy, and we just packed up because we hated it because it was too random. The new version I enjoyed a lot more. It has some new twists and tweaks to it which have removed a lot of the randomness from the original version. Also, I've been told, and so I think from my play of it, you draft your starting party politic base at the start of the game. What's it called? Party program. I don't believe drafting was in the original game. You just got dealt a party program, and if it didn't match anything that was on the table, you were screwed right from the start. Just seems wrong. But anyway, the new game, it has drafting for the party program and more opportunities for you to change your party program. The game is long. We played the short version of the game, which is 4 rounds, and that took us 3.5 hours. The full version of the game is 5 rounds with actually 7 elections. So in 2 of the rounds, you have 2 elections. I'd be keen to play it again. We played it 4-player. The game does take up to 5. There was a lot about it that I liked. There were some bits that I wasn't completely keen on. But I would play it again. It's a bit of a long game. And I think there are games out there now that I'm getting more bang for my buck with in terms of enjoyment per minute. So for example, I could play Cooper Island or I could play DAmato. 5-player DAmato is going to take me about 4.5 hours. 4-player Cooper Island is going to take me about 2.5 hours. And I think there's more going on in Cooper Island. I'm going to get more back from playing Cooper Island in 2.5 hours than I will from DAmato in 4.5 hours. That's the problem these days, is when faced with a game like that, you think, well, I could play that. Well, actually, I could play this one and then this one. So yeah, that's what's going to hold it back. Spielworks have done a very good job with the production quality of this new version of the game. The rulebook's a little bit iffy in a couple of places and is wrong in at least one place. But other than that, I'm glad I played it again, and I would play a game, if I had the opportunity to do this afternoon and there were people here and I didn't have to work, I would be playing it this afternoon. Actually, I'd be playing some of the other ones instead. Right, next up, Magnate, the First City. I've got 1 recorded play of this, which is a little unusual, and I wasn't sure whether to record this, but I did a solo game of it. I did a live stream of me playing through the solo game of it. James Naylor, the designer of Magnate, has become a friend over the last year or so, and he's a patron supporter, so I wanted to give something back to him. So what I agreed to do was I would take my evening off from the work that I should have been doing, and I did a live stream of me sitting down with his game and his rulebook and trying to learn how to play the game from the rulebook on camera. Now that is a service which I offer professionally to other publishers, and sometimes that stream doesn't go out in public, it goes out privately. So I will do a private live stream for a publisher where they send me the game, they send me the rulebook, and I actually sit there and try and work out how to play, streaming it to them, talking to them saying this bit isn't clear, I'm not sure what to do. Personally, I believe that is a really useful service that I provide, and I know it sounds arrogant me saying that, but it's a really good test of the rulebook, and it's much better than them sending me the game, me sitting down learning how to play it, me making lots of notes all over the paper, and then having to write them a long email back about what wasn't clear. They're watching it live. They can actually see what I'm doing. And the other thing with playtesting, and any publishers or games designers that are watching this, you will know, if you send a copy to a reviewer or for a blind tester, and they come back and they say, oh yeah, we were able to play the game fine, we had no problems with it, how do you know that they were playing it correctly? You don't. And this has happened. I have seen this myself, and I have heard stories from other people. People get the rules, play the game, and say, yeah, we were able to play the game fine, and it turns out they were playing a major rule wrong because your rulebook wasn't clear, but because they interpreted it one way and thought it was clear the way they interpreted it, whereas a live stream, you see the person right there and then, they're playing it wrong, and you interrupt them. Anyway, Magnate, the First City, the Kickstarter campaign has finished. James did really well with it. The game's coming out, and I am scheduled to do an actual tutorial and playthrough video of it with the final version when it comes out. So that'll be later this year. That's Magnate, the First City. Next up, I just need a break. I'll have a drink, and I'll edit this bit out later. I'm just going to take a short break because I'm exhausted. Right, I'm back. Where were we up to? Masters of Renaissance, Lorenzo Il Magnifico, the card game. Now that's a long title. Masters of Renaissance is the name of the game. It's advertised as Lorenzo Il Magnifico, the card game, which is a bit odd because it has boards. It's not a card game. When I see a card game, it should just be cards. And it has cards in it, but it also has boards in it. So it's a little bit odd that it's called the card game. And I actually call it Marbles of Renaissance because it has marbles. It has a very interesting selection method for using the marbles that gets you the resources. I've played it twice. According to this list, I've played it once. That's a lie. I've played it twice because I played it to learn how to play, and then we played it on video. So that video is on the channel as well. I did a tutorial and playthrough video of it. Yeah, Cranio Creations asked me to do a tutorial and playthrough video of it. It's nice. I like the game. I've not actually played Lorenzo Il Magnifico, which I know I should have done because it sounds like my kind of game. But this takes about 40 minutes or so to play. It's smooth, it's quick. As I say, the marble mechanism is quick, quite nice. If you want to know more, check out the video that's on the channel. But yeah, I really like that. Next up, me, Vicky, Nilsson and Vashti played Mystery House Adventures in a Box. Now this is also from Cranio Creations, and this is another game that I talked about in mine and Rick's video on escape room games. So Mystery House takes the whole escape room game, puzzle game to another level where the box of the game is actually what you need. It's the physical component. So within the actual box is a box with holes in the side, and you slot things in and you actually look through the box to see what's going on. And you see things and you try and spot things and you try and work them out. And there's puzzles in it, but it is really thematic because you are having to look in through the holes in the side of the box and try and see things. Yeah, really liked it. The base game comes with 2 stories. We've only played the first one. It's quite dark. It's a bit creepy. And whilst we enjoyed the game, there were a couple of issues with it. So the first issue, Cranio were fixing. The language in the app was awful. Now, bearing in mind, I speak to a number of people from Cranio Creations and their English is brilliant. They send me emails, their English is fantastic. The English in the app, I don't know who did it, but it's awful. And by the time that this video is going out, or by the time that you're watching this video, hopefully they fixed that. Because there were massive spelling mistakes all throughout the app, and it was just, okay, did it affect the gameplay? Probably not. The fact that it says Mystery House in the app and mystery spelt wrong, it's just embarrassing. And it's not a big job to fix it, and hopefully they fixed it. That was the first issue that we had. The second issue was the fact that it's so dark, you're having to look in through these holes and you're having to see things, and they're really hard to see and they're really dark, but they've been printed on a kind of glossy sheet. So you're having to shine a torch in to look at it, and the reflective nature of the thing that you're trying to see is reflecting the light. Now, we played it in here, actually, in this dining room with the light overhead, which I think is what most people have got, a light overhead. Most people don't have studio lighting. But yeah, you're going to need fairly good lighting to see it, to be able to play the game. And as I say, if you're using torches, I found it a little bit reflective. But we loved the game. The experience of playing the game was really nice. We played it with 4 people. That might be slightly too many. I'd probably prefer to play it with 2 or 3 people next time, just because, like a lot of escape room style puzzle games, not everybody's involved as much as they could or should be at all times. But yeah, Mystery House Adventures in a Box. Enjoyed it. Want to play the second one. Moving on. The next one is Cranio Creations as well. This is odd because these are now in alphabetical order, but these 3 are all Cranio Creations. Masters of Renaissance, Mystery House and Newton. Just before Christmas, I did a 3-player... Was it before Christmas or after? I can't remember now. It was in December. I did a 3-player video of me, Tom and Paul playing through Newton with the new expansion. Newton came out, I think, 2018. I've done a review of it. I think the game's fantastic. One of my favourite games from 2018. And it had an expansion that came out at Essenspiel just last year. Great discoveries, which shakes the game up a little bit. I mean, Newton's great. The amount of variability in the game is massive. And the Great Discoveries is a nice little addition. So if you like Newton, see if you can get hold of the Great Discoveries expansion, or if you want to see us playing it, I've done a video on it. Check that out. Next up is Radiant Offline Battle Arena, that you will see is here. And it's here for a reason that I'll talk about in a minute. This is a 2-player dueling wizards combat card game type thing. And there's millions of them on the market. Well, probably not millions. This is designed by Heel Turn Games. They contacted me They were really nice. Sometimes publishers are really nice. Sometimes publishers just come to me and say, Paul, do some stuff. And when I go back to them and say, I'm sorry, but that's a chargeable... Oh, we're not prepared to pay. Some of them do that. Some of them, Heel Turn Games, are really nice. And they contacted me and they said, we'd like to send you a review copy of our game. We like your videos. And I went back to them and I said, look, I don't do reviews on request. I can't... Because otherwise, I'd be getting sent review copies left, right and centre. And I don't have time to do reviews because I don't do paid reviews. And I just don't have the time to do it. So I said, look, I appreciate you wanting to send me a copy, but to be honest, I can't promise that I'll be able to do a review of it. I have a massive backlog of games. I can't even tell you when I'm going to get around to even playing it, let alone talk about it. But I am running my own convention soon. If you wanted to contribute something as a prize for the convention, then that's fine. Anyway, they sent me 3 copies of it. One for me to keep and play with whenever I want. No promise of any review or anything like that. One of them to put into the GridCon charity raffle, and I'll talk about the GridCon charity raffle later on, but they contributed a copy to that. And another copy to be used as part of a Patreon giveaway, which is what this month's contest is. You can win a copy of this and the first little expansion set. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Another 2-player combat card game. I've seen so many of these in the past. And me and Rick played through it just before Christmas. And it was good. It was better than I was expecting. And that sounds like I was expecting it to be bad. And my only expectation that it wasn't going to be good was that there's so many of these games out there and everybody's doing them. But, and it's my fault for kind of dismissing things without looking into them in a bit more detail. And if I'd have looked into this in a bit more detail, I'd have gone, oh, actually, this does look interesting. But, as I said, they sent me a copy anyway, and then we looked into it. Me and Rick both read the rules for it. We played it, and I want to play it again. It does something a bit different. The game is pretty quick. It does play a little bit like one of these online battle arenas, which is why it's called offline battle arena. You have these 3 characters, they're in lanes, you're trying to attack the opponent's thing. But it isn't a game that goes on forever. You attack something, attack it again, and it's gone. And then you have the god thing, not the god, what is it? Anyway, the avatar thing that comes out, and yeah, quite liked it, want to play it again. Definitely worth a look. And one of my Patreon supporters is going to win a copy of it. That video's on the channel. If you're interested in that sort of thing, check that out. Next up is Railroad Revolution, with the expansion of Railroad Evolution. Now, Railroad Revolution is a game from What's Your Game. What's Your Game are one of my clients. I've worked with them for years. I did the rulebook for the base game. I did the video for the base game. I was involved in the base game in terms of doing stuff for it. The expansion came out at Essen. Railroad Evolution is an expansion set for Railroad Revolution, but it actually comes with a completely new board. So it's a very different game. It's a new board with a whole load of new pieces. And I think, yeah, for me, it was a better game. There was a bit more going on because What's Your Game are known for doing fairly complex, meaty, heavy games. Railroad Revolution was nice, but it wasn't the same weight as the original, as other What's Your Game games. But with this expansion set in there, it adds a bit. And it does take it up now to, I think, a very good game. I shouldn't really say that because What's Your Game are a client and I was paid to do work on the game, but I just have. Again, we've done another video on it. So if you want to see what is new in the Railroad Evolution expansion, go and check out the video. The video isn't a tutorial of the whole game. It is purely what is new in this version of the game. I do that first and then we play it. So that's Railroad Evolution. Next up is a game that I was looking forward to. This is from Queen Games, and this is Runestones. Because a number of people had said that this game was actually really good, and I quite like some of the stuff that Queen Games are doing. They've done a lot of good games. Hello, Loki. What have you found? Oh, he's just sniffing around the garden. Queen Games have done a lot of good games. Merlin, I thought, was brilliant. Lancaster is brilliant. There's lots of other games from Queen Games that I think are really good. And I was looking forward to this one. It's Rudy Gadorn, who's done lots of great games. The production quality looked great. Other people had said it was great. And I played it. And I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. The reason why I was a bit disappointed is the game went on twice as long for me as it should. I enjoyed the game, I enjoyed the mechanisms within the game, but then it should have been a 40-minute game, and I think it went on about an hour and a half, or it should have been a 30-minute game and it went on an hour. I can't remember exactly, but the last half of the game just felt like we were repeating over and over the stuff that we'd done before. There was no progression in the game. We were just doing the same thing again until somebody hit that victory point total. So I enjoyed the game, but I think it needs to be a lot shorter than it is, and I would play again, but I'd play with a reduced target. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in that one, unfortunately, just because, as I say, I was expecting it to be better than it actually was based on what people had said. Next up is Sanctum. I have played Sanctum once. I played it after Essen. I've been involved a little bit in the development of this game over the last 3 years, so I've played a couple of different versions of it, but I kind of dropped out of the development of this game in about March of last year, so I haven't played anywhere near. The last version I played was very, very different from what the version is now. I'm glad I've now played the final version, and when I finish this video, I am actually recording the how to play video of Sanctum this week. The script is done, the studio's ready, Loki's come back in, talking about Sanctum. So yeah, I'm not going to say too much about it because I've been commissioned to do a how to play video of the game, which I will be hopefully filming and finishing. Well, I'm probably not going to get it done this week now, but hopefully by early next week that video will be done. And I'm actually going to be running demos of Sanctum at HandyCon. So if you are at HandyCon and you want to see the game, unfortunately all the demos are full, but if you want to see it being played, you're welcome to pop over and have a look. Sensor Ghost is next on my list, which I've already talked about earlier on. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Now, I've got one play on here. That's not right. I think it's 2. Now, I can't talk too much about Tainted Grail because, again, like Sanctum, I've been commissioned to do the official how to play video for Tainted Grail. I've been playing it in order to learn how to play the game. The script is now done, and as soon as I finish with the Sanctum video, and there's a couple of rules queries that I've got that I need answers to, I will be filming that. So hopefully that should be done by the... Oh, you're coming up? Oh, yeah, you're coming up. There you go. You're a bit wet. Is it raining out there? Yeah, I think it's raining out there. Hopefully by the end of this month, that video will be done. So, yeah, because I'm professionally involved in the game, I can't really tell you too much about it. But what I will tell you is that the setting, I absolutely love. The whole, you know, certain settings really resonate with some people and they get really into it. The idea that it's this oldie England, King Arthur style fantasy with a bit of mystical, mythical, weirdo, monstery things, but is really cool. And the artwork for the game all goes into making this setting, which is the fact that there is this thing that exists called the weirdness, W-Y-R-D-ness, and it's bad. And all the towns, all the settlements in the land are protected by these menhirs, which are basically keeping the weirdness out. And every town has one of them, and they're going dark. Their power is fading, and as the power fades, basically the weirdness will creep in and just take over everything. That's the basic synopsis of the setting, without giving too much away. I've already done a video, which is on the channel, of me playing through the tutorial, which basically set that setting up. I'm going to be doing some other videos as well. I'm going to be doing some playthrough videos of me playing through the campaign, but there'll be spoilers in them. But you can watch the tutorial video without any spoilers of the actual story. So if you're interested in the game, go and check that out on my channel. I would recommend checking out mine rather than some of the ones that were done during the Kickstarter campaign, because the rules changed. So if you were to watch any of the older Tainted Grail videos, they are now wrong, unfortunately. That's just the way that it works. With anybody who does a video during the Kickstarter campaign, they've changed the rules. So there are other videos available now. I know Rob's Gaming Table is a channel that I watch in America. They're doing a series of playthrough videos as well. Ready Steady Play doing a series of playthrough videos, and I'll be doing them as well. But anyway, yeah, very, very narrative heavy as well. And the writing style is brilliant. The writing style and the artwork together and the setting and the feel of it, it's really there. It's really dark. It's really grim. Really like it. Anyway, more on Tainted Grail from me over the next month. Teotihuacan, City of the Gods. I did a solo playthrough as voted on by people on various Facebook groups. I did a solo playthrough of it. I've played this game a number of times. I really like the game, but I hadn't played the solo game. And I did that. I did a live video of me playing through the solo game in December. If you're interested in that, go and check it out. Would I play the solo game of it again? Well, the thing is, I'm not a solo gamer. If I was a solo gamer, I would. The solo game, however, it was a bit fiddly. There was bits that you had to do, and you'll see it on the video. I kept forgetting to do them. But there is a website with a bit of an app which will help do that for you. And I was going to use it, and then I thought, no. I'll use the actual real components. Next time I do it, if I play it again solo, I will definitely use the website, because it does it all for you and it's much easier. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Go and check out the video if you want to see a solo playthrough of Teotihuacan. We're almost there. We've got 7 left. Let me know if you've watched this over multiple sittings. How are we doing? We're 1 hour and 23 in. Right. I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit this video. I'm going to do a very light editing job on this video. Right, next up is Throne of Allegoria. And the first thing I want to say about this game is an apology to Spielworks, Robin Lees and Steve McKenzie for the things that I said about this game on my Essen haul list. So when I got back from Essen, I did a video of everything that I brought back from Essen. And the reason I'm apologising is I didn't know anything about this game at the time I did that video, but I had to give a little bit of information. So what I did is I gave the information that I had about the game, which is all the information I had about it at that point. And unfortunately, it came across a little bit negative, because people had told me this game has blind bidding. I don't like blind bidding. Some people said it had conflict. I don't like conflict. So they are the only bits of information I got given about the game. People gave me that about the game, and I didn't form an opinion. I mean, I even said in the video that I don't really know much about the game, but I've heard this, and if it does have that, I might not like it. Not sure. Anyway, we played it last Friday. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good game, and that whole thing about blind bidding and conflict was nowhere near as much of a problem as I thought it might be. It's hidden bidding. It's basically you're putting counters, you're putting your workers, you have 6 workers, they've got values, you're putting them face down in an area, there's 7 different areas you can go in, and then when all of the things are placed, they're all revealed, and you're bidding against the other people, but it's secret bidding. I had no problem with it. It worked fine, and it had a bit of a bluffing element to it, and it was quite clever in the way that it worked. The way that you interact with other people in this game I thought was very clever. When you trade with somebody else, if you trade some wealth with somebody else, they get the wealth. It's just, it seems obvious, but if you go to somebody else's market and give them something, they get it. I thought it was clever. So Throne of Allegoria, I definitely want to play it again. And yeah, Chris came down, taught me, Tom and Paul how to play. That was last Friday. So only, what day is it now? Tuesday. 3 days ago. 4 days ago. Can't count. 4 days ago we did that. So that is on the channel now. Throne of Allegoria, another Spielworks game. Limited edition from Spielworks at Essen. Game Brewer have picked it up, and Game Brewer are doing a Kickstarter for a new version of it. They're not changing any of the rules. They are changing some of the graphics and things like that, which I know some people don't agree with and some people do agree with. But if you want to know more about the game, check out the playthrough video on the channel, and also then check out the Kickstarter campaign, because if you want to get it, then unless you can find somebody who's got a copy of the Spielworks version, then you'll be wanting to get the Game Brewer one. Right, next up is Time's Up, which I've put on my list because New Year's Eve at the party, I hosted a game of Time's Up. I call it Time's Up. It could be called Monikers, it could be called something else. I don't actually have the game. We do our own version of it with bits of paper and a pencil. It's the only way I've ever played this game. The official version of the game, if you buy it, actually comes with things that you're supposed to do. Well, I think it's much better when everybody just writes 3 names in a hat, 3 names on bits of paper, and puts them in a hat. And that's what we do. And every New Year's Eve, I do that, and it's always a lot of fun. yeah, so that was Time's Up, stroke monikers, whatever you want to call it. We played that on New Year's Eve. Next up is Torres. Now, another magazine article I'm going to talk about here. So I was contacted by Senate magazine. Senate magazine hasn't actually started yet. It was a Kickstarter campaign. It was a successful Kickstarter campaign. I backed it, I supported it. Issue 1 is coming out, I can't remember when, soonish I think. But the editor of the Senate magazine contacted me and said, Paul, we'd like you to be the first person to write the Shelf of Shame article for issue number 1. So they are going to have a regular series of articles about somebody's Shelf of Shame. And basically the remit of it was that I had to go to my games collection, find a game which is quite old, I think they said 5 years or more old, that I haven't played, write about the reasons why I haven't played it, play it, and then do another write-up afterwards of my thoughts on it. And I went, I can go one better than that. I've had a game for over 15 years that I've not played. So I have a copy of Torres, and I've had it for about, as I say, 15 years and never played it. So I agreed to do the article. And then what I did is I got Paul around for the afternoon and we did a live playthrough of Torres. So if you want to see me play through a 20-year-old game, because it is 20 years old, on the channel, then me and Paul played through Torres. I would play it again. It does show its age a little bit and it is very abstract in nature, but I quite enjoyed it. It was very much an early style of Euro game. Games like that generally don't come out now, although Santorini is probably the most similar to it. I would definitely want to play it multiplayer next time rather than just 2-player. But yeah, I quite liked it. So the article has been written, and if you want to read that article, it will be in Senate magazine. I don't know how available Senate magazine is going to be, but that's there. And if you want to see me playing through it, that's on there. But it also gave me an idea for the next stretch goal of the Patreon campaign, and that's where we are right now. I'll talk about the Patreon campaign more in a little bit later on, but the next goal is for me to start covering old games. It's called Cult of the Old stretch goal, and if I reach that stretch goal, I will be doing more videos of games that are very old, Torres being the first of which. I have lots of games in my collection that are 20 years old, because that's when I pretty much started board gaming, is sort of 98, 99. I mean, I was board gaming before that, but that's when I seriously got into board gaming. Right, that's Torres. Next up is a game from Mo Ideas that came out this year called Towers of Amharb. Now, this is a very odd game because it's got a Cthulhu theme to it, and it doesn't really need a Cthulhu theme. It is a very abstract game. I hope they don't mind me saying that, because it is an abstract game. It uses, as the core mechanism of the game, the Towers of Hanoi mechanism, which we know, I know as Towers of Hanoi, but in the rulebook it's called Towers of something else, I can't remember. So where you've got the circular discs, each one is in decreasing size, and you can only ever move a stack of discs onto something. You can't put a bigger disc on a smaller disc. You have that. So you have a stack of 4 discs, you have 4 columns, and where you place the disc is the column that you activate. So it's quite a clever little mechanism. And then the game itself is you're basically placing cultists on a board to try and surround these altars in order to collect doom points, and the one with the most doom points at the end of the game wins. It's a fairly simple abstract game. I played it, it was okay, but it didn't have anything really gripping to it. Each of the players chooses one of the elder ones, so somebody was Cthulhu, somebody was Shub-Niggurath, etc, etc. There's 8 different ones available, and each one has its own unique ability, but we weren't using those abilities that much. Now, whether that's because we'd only played it that once, and maybe we should have been using them more, but it cost you something to use them, and you needed that something in order to pay for your cultists. So it was okay. It's not a game that I would seek out wanting to play again. I would if people asked me, but we then played My Abbey straight afterwards, and My Abbey was brilliant. So it kind of just showed, it was like, okay, well that game was okay, but then we played My Abbey afterwards, and My Abbey just played much better. So unfortunately, you can't like every game. I'm a big fan of Mo Ideas, and I like Frank and I like David, but I'm being honest. I'm just saying that that particular game wasn't so much for me. Next up is Trismegistus, the Ultimate Formula. Now, I've played this about 3 or 4 times since getting hold of it. According to my list, I only have 1 recorded play in between October and present day, and that could have been the video that I did. That might have been the last time that I played the game. So Board and Dice asked me to do a playthrough video on the channel, and that is up there now. So Trismegistus is a good game, but unfortunately, and I'm not the only person who said this, so they'll have heard this from many sources, the rulebook is one of the worst rulebooks that I've read in the last year, and the graphic design, it's painful. It makes the game harder to learn. If this game had have had really good graphic design and a clear rulebook, this game would be super great, and it'd be popular, and it'd be up there with your Maracaibos, your Crystal Palaces, and your Cooper Islands. It would be up there being talked about. I mean, some people are talking about it as one of those games in that category of like heavy, complex, great games from 2019. But unfortunately, it is let down by the rulebook and the graphic design that make it hard to teach, hard to learn, tricky to find out what's going on, and just more complicated than it should have been. And that's a shame. But the game itself is a good game. It's just, it will do your head in. As I say, it's not an easy teach. It's not an easy learn, and you've actually got lots and lots of things that you've got to time correctly in order to be able to just get one thing. Some people have said that it's a little bit too complex. There's a little bit of too much fiddliness. Oh, I've got to move this, which moves that there, and then because I move that there, I get this token. And because I've got that token, I can turn this. There's a little bit of that in there, but I do like the game. It's just, it's a bit painful to teach, but I do want to play it again. Underwater Cities. I did a playthrough video of Underwater Cities with the new expansion. Now, Underwater Cities was one of my favourite games from 2018, and I don't play it enough. I really don't play it enough, and I hadn't played it, I think I hadn't played it the whole of this year. Sorry, the whole of last year. I didn't play it at all in 2019 until I played it with the expansion, and it reminded me what a great game Underwater Cities is, and made better with the expansion. The expansion doesn't add that much to it, but what it does add is nice. And yeah, it's just a game that I really wish I had more time to play more of, because I really do enjoy Underwater Cities. So that's Underwater Cities with the expansion, new discoveries. And finally, 1 hour 34 in, we are up to the final game on the list, Verdoran Gardens. Designed by Frank West. This is one of his little box games. So Frank West designed City of Kings. Massive game, big black box, huge. He's also designed Verdoran Gardens, little white box, very cute, clever, will melt your brain. It's deceptively simple. It looks simple, but when you're actually playing it, it's actually very clever. There's a number of games in this sort of tile laying, this has got to be tucked under or go on top of kind of thing. There's Honshu, Verdoran Gardens, Hanging Gardens. What's the other one that somebody told me about? There is another one as well, I can't remember what it's called. But I enjoyed my one play of Verdoran Gardens, and I would definitely play it again. The video's on the channel. The 2 other players, Tom and Paul, had played it before, and that was absolutely clear. I was really struggling because I just couldn't make sets. I couldn't get my head around what I was doing, and it's really good that I played it with 2 people that had played it a couple of times before, because they showed me how it was done. If it weren't for them, I would be thinking, this game's impossible, this game's too hard, I can't, oh, it's just crazy. And they were doing it. So they showed that it could be done, and it was just the fact that I wasn't very good at it. Anyway, that is Verdoran Gardens. And that is all of the games that I've played over the last 3 months. I'll tell you what, February's video log is going to be a lot shorter. Because I've only played, between now and February's video log, I won't have played that many games, he says, although I'm going to HandyCon. Maybe I will. Right, short break time, if you want to go and put the kettle on. And now we're going to get on to another thing, which is going to be another very long section, because this is about my Patreon campaign. Now, I'm going to put a timestamp on screen now. If you don't want to hear about all of my Patreon stuff, and you want to skip ahead to the next bit where I talk about content, I'll put the timestamp on screen now and you can skip right ahead. In fact, the timestamp will skip you ahead to the contest. I want to tell you about the contest. But before that, when you support me on Patreon, part of that support gets you a shout out on the next video log. And I haven't done a video log since October. Therefore, I am now going to do a shout out for all of the people that have supported me since the last video log, which is quite a few. Thank you very much. I did a bit of a Patreon drive in December. November and December, I took a lot of time off paid work. I essentially halved my salary in November and December in order to produce more Patreon content. For a couple of reasons. One, a Patreon drive to try and get more Patreon supporters so that I can then start making more content, but also as a thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for basically keeping me going, keeping this channel going, because if it isn't for my Patreon supporters, none of this happens. I mean, yes, I get paid for some of the videos that I do, but I'm not charging very much for them. And people say, oh, you should charge more. Yeah, I can't. If I charge more, I won't get any work. That's just the way it is. There are other content creators out there doing videos in a lot less time than it takes me to create my videos. Therefore, I have to be competitive on price. Therefore, the Patreon support is essential for me to basically keep things going. So I do want to give something back as a massive thank you. And that's what I did in November and December. I did a lot of those, I said all, then most. A lot of those videos that I did, including the 2 that I did last Friday, were not sponsored at all. So that was me taking time off work. Anyway, massive thank yous, first of all, to some new executive producers. Right. We have, my eyesight's going, am I going to be able to read this? Colin Borgstrom. Thank you very much, Colin. And apologies if I can't see these properly or mispronounce them. Jason Moodley, thank you very much, Jason. Julian Dale, thank you very much, Julian. Matt Levy, thank you very much, Matt. Matt's been supporting me since October and is usually there on all of the live streams. Michelle Eaton, thank you very much, Michelle. Peter Chaldek, or Chaladek. Anyway, thank you very much, Peter. Stefan from Hamarston. Theo Clark, thank you very much, Theo. And I'll be talking about you later on. And James Robertson is not a new executive producer, but he's actually increased his pledge. So thank you very much, James, for your extra support. A couple of people have upgraded their pledge, not just a couple, a few people have upgraded their pledge from producer to executive producer. This is Bruce Spears, thank you very much, Bruce. Chris Greenall, Lee Stanford, Nilsson and Vashti, Phil Eaton, Raymond Davies and Stasia Doster. So thank you very much to all of you for increasing your support. You are now executive producers, which will bring some extra perks, which I'll be talking about. Not in this thing, but I'll be sending an email about it at some point. Right, some new producers that have come on board. So we've got Aaron Haag, thank you very much, Aaron. Alexandra P, Anna Santos, Andy Davidson, Andy Relf, Anthony Ball, Amy Muller, Brian Rygard, Karine Zayman, Z-A-A-Y-M-A-N, Zayman. I sound Geordie saying that. Anyway, apologies for mispronouncing that. Chad Weiser, Charles Pearson Jr., Charlie Charles, Cheeseman, I really hope that's your real name, Christopher Hayes, Daniel Leon, David Lindsay, David Turtsey, Dino, Emils E, Francis McBee Orzulak, I think I've got that right, thank you very much, Francis. Francisco Correa, or Cisco, thank you very much. G, it's just G. Hans Rutgens, Kent from Icarus Must Burn is back as a supporter, thank you very much, Kent. Jason Tuttle, James Charlick, where are we? Jamie Wallace, thank you very much, Jamie. Jason Dinger, and Jason Dinger, just talking about Jason, he's designer of Captains of the Gulf and another game coming out this year. But in my recent live playthroughs, you've seen us using some wooden dice tray, very bouncy, and some wooden card holders. Jason made those. Thank you very much, Jason, and thank you to Ian for bringing them back from BGGCon. Neil Haggerty, thank you very much, Neil. Patrick Vaillancourt, Paul, I've just got Paul, it's not me, not sure. Paul Linkow is back, thank you very much, Paul. Pawan Kumar, and congratulations, I think you got married over the Christmas holidays, so congratulations. Pete Andrews, Peter Frottier, Philip Pettifer, I've known Phil for, how long? 22 years now, thank you very much for your support. Richard Ing, Richard Stockton, Scott Schewitz, Stephen McLaughlin, Stephen de Wispelier, Stephen Seitz, we'll be talking about Stephen Seitz later on as well, Stuart Graham, the One Hasaski, Kevin from the Dell House, thank you very much. Kevin, Dell House is basically, it's a mini UK games convention that runs at their bed and breakfast like every couple of months, I think. William Cook, Winston Forrest, and Ziv Reknitzer. There you go. Apologies again for mispronouncing these. So, people who have upgraded their pledges to producer level. Mike Grizzly, thank you very much, Mike. Pazuzu, Nigel Graves, thank you, Nigel. Kim Brandes, Laura Stephen, and Tim O'Connell. We also have some new supporters at lower levels, which is Alas Board Games. Thank you very much. I'll see you at Learycon. Alan Kirkwood, thank you very much, Alan. Ben Clapperton, thank you very much, Ben, and for your support on the Facebook groups. Benjamin Alvarez, ditto. B. Van Wonsel, thank you very much. Blood Boiler. Burkhard Henker. C. Scott Kippen. Daniel Newman, thank you very much, Daniel, and I'll be working with you later this year on Astrolabe. David Sims, thank you, David. Russ from Chits and Giggles, thank you. Ian Bennetts, thank you, Ian. Ian Robinson. John Albertson. Jose Lavina. Kirsty Derbyshire. Christy Wayland, thank you very much, Christy. KS, that's all I have here. Luke O'Rafferty. Luke Smith. Miguel Santos Conchico. That's definitely pronounced that wrong. Apologies for that. I'll just say Miguel Santos. Neil Browell. Paul Mack. Rebecca Strang at To Play Is Human. Ree Stevens. Rodrigo Ribeiro. Scott Burns. Steve Mayer. And then Tim O'Connell. Oh, so Tim O'Connell pledged at one level and then upgraded to producer. You get 2 mentions, Tim. A couple of people have upgraded their pledges to supporter level, which is Kyle Muller and Sean Goldberg. There you go. So, massive thank you to everybody who has supported me. Now, a couple of those supporters are no longer with me. They only pledged for a short period of time, but I'm saying thank you anyway. However long you're with me as a patron supporter, it's all good. And I said I was going to talk about the next stretch goal, but before I do that, I'm going to talk about the stretch goals that we reached in December. So we reached 2 stretch goals in December. The first one was that my tutorial videos are now going to have proper subtitles added to them. The YouTube automatic subtitles are pretty good. For me, with my fairly neutral accent, the YouTube automatic subtitles tends to pick it up pretty much correct. But it's not perfect. I had the opportunity to basically make the subtitles better on my tutorial videos. So it was a goal of the campaign. That goal has been reached, which means all of my how to play videos will have proper subtitles on there. AJ is doing them. Thank you very much, AJ. And then we had some feedback from a deaf member of the board gaming community who basically commented on them and gave us some tips and advice on how to make them better. So AJ worked with him, and the end result is my On Mars video now has proper subtitles, and I'm probably going to get AJ to do some older ones. But I have 2 more how to play videos coming out this month. They're going to be properly subtitled as well. So that's increasing the accessibility of the videos for other people, which is cool. The other thing is we reached the $2,000 goal, which sounds a lot, but once you convert it to pounds and then Patreon takes their 15%, it's less than it sounds. Anyway, that goal was for me to do 1 solo playthrough a month. So, once a month, I will now be doing a live solo playthrough. I'm getting more into solo games, and I know a lot of you aren't interested in solo games at all, but I know a lot of you that are, and I'm getting more into solo games. So once a month, as well as all of the other stuff that I'm doing, the 2 reviews, the video log, the live Q&A, I'm also going to be doing a live solo playthrough once a month. Guaranteed. There you go. If I miss it, I'll do 2 next month. And I can tell you now that it's been voted on that the solo game that I'm going to be doing this month is on Mars. So not a nice, short, simple one, but a super complicated one. That's going to be happening near the end of the month. Watch this space for updates, but I've already spoken to Vittel. Vittel has agreed to be there during the chat while I do it. So that will be happening later this month. Now, contests. Every month I do a contest as part of my Patreon campaign where one of my supporters at producer level and higher gets to win a prize. Not many people on Patreon do this now. This is another thing which I do, again, to try and say thank you and to try and give something back. And I'm now going to go through the contest for the last 3 months. The contest for October was to win a copy of the Madeira Collector's Edition, which is very valuable, not out yet, and that was won by Nathan Harmsworth. So thank you very much, Nathan, for your support. Nathan's actually been with me as a supporter since March 2019, I believe. Yes, so thank you for your support since March, and congratulations on winning the Madeira Collector's Edition. What's your game have been told about it? Hopefully you're on a list and that's all been sorted and you'll get it at the same time as everybody else. In November, the contest was to win a copy of Maracaibo, which was donated to me by Games Up and Capstone Games. And the winner of that was Stephen Seitz. Now, the reason why I'm smiling is Stephen started supporting me that month. Whether you started supporting me, Stephen, in order to be in with a chance of winning Maracaibo, I don't know. But you started supporting me that month and straight away you won a copy of Maracaibo. It happens. It's a completely random draw. If you're an executive producer, you get 3 entries. If you're a producer, you get 1 entry. I put it all in there. I generate a random number. Your name came out. The story gets better because Stephen isn't in the UK and I physically had the copy of Maracaibo here at my house to hopefully send to somebody in the UK. Stephen is not in the UK, he's at America, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to send this all the way over to America. It's going to cost me a fortune in postage. And then Stephen sent me a message and said, oh, I'm actually at PAX Unplugged at the moment. And I went, oh, and I came up with an idea. So the idea was, I contact Clay from Capstone Games, who gave me the copy of Maracaibo to give away. I then ask him to give another copy of the game to Stephen at PAX Unplugged. I sell my copy of Maracaibo that I had here, and I knock the money that I make from that off what Clay owes me for the work that I've done for him on other stuff. Sounds very, very complicated, but basically Stephen got his copy of Maracaibo directly from Capstone Games at PAX Unplugged. Picture on screen now if you don't mind, Stephen. This is Stephen with his copy. Thank you very much to Capstone Games, to Clay and to Justine for sorting that out. All good, and I don't have to post it off. So yeah, that was brilliant. December's contest was to win. And I'm now going to show my copy of Kahless. You're not winning this, because this is mine. But there is a copy of Kahless, which Asmodee have currently got. I hope they have it. So the winner is going to win a copy of Kahless and these 2 posters. Now, these posters are quite special. There's something a bit interesting, and I've shown these on a couple of videos. This is the Board Games Hero Challenge, and I'm going to put a picture of it on screen now. I'm not going to get it out of the tube, but it's in the tube. So this is a scratch thing. Basically, it's a challenge. It's all these challenges, and when you accomplish these challenges, you scratch them off. And then the next one is top 100 board games at the time this poster was created. Again, I'll put a picture of this on screen as well. It's the top 100 board games on BGG as of the time it was made. When you've played it, you can scratch it off. They're nice little posters. There's something a bit different. And yeah, the draw is basically win a copy of Kahless and these. These were donated to me by Top Scratch Games. Thank you very much for that. And the winner is, I did the draw earlier on this morning, and for the 2nd month running, the winner of the contest is somebody who has just started supporting me. Theo Clark is from the UK. I've known Theo for a while. He started supporting me in December. His name went into the hat along with everybody else, and his name got picked out this morning. So congratulations, Theo. You've won a copy of Kahless and these 2 posters. I will be contacting you, and we will work out how we're going to get you to them. Because I'm going to try and get Asmodee to send you the copy direct, because otherwise they'd send it to me and then I'd have to give it to you. And Top Scratch have basically said that they'll send the posters to you. So I will send you an email, I'll get your address, and we'll sort you out with these prizes. The contest for this month is to win, as mentioned earlier on, a copy of Radiant Offline Battle Arena and the expansion set. And I'm also going to throw in these posters. So Top Scratch have basically said that they will give 2 posters away to the winner of the contest. and these 2 posters were for me. I think these posters are great, and I know people that will really like them, but I don't really have anywhere in the house that I could use these posters. So I'm going to give away these 2, which have been opened, but I haven't scratched anything off. These 2 are going to be given away as well. If you are a Patreon supporter at producer level and higher, you don't need to do anything. Basically, at the end of this month, I do a draw and I pick a winner. So if you're interested in either of these games and you're not currently a supporter, then feel free to support me just for this month, because if it's anything like the last 2 months, you'll probably win. Right, that is it for the contest, and that is the end of the Patreon update. Thank you for bearing with me. Next, on to content that I have made in the last 3 months. I am not going to go over it all, because there were 46 live streams over the last 3 months, and a lot of them I've already talked about in the games that I've played section. You know, there was Mage Knight, which didn't count as a game I played because I taught other people how to play it. So I got to do Mage Knight, I did Torres, I did lots and lots of new Essen games, some of which I really enjoyed, some of which I wasn't too keen on. I did some older games. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through all of the content that I've made in the last 3 months because it's a lot of live streams. I haven't done any reviews, I haven't done any vlogs. They went on hold, but I'm picking them up again this month. Yeah, we did the live show on Escape Room Games. I did a lot of solo playthroughs. I think I did what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 solo playthroughs. So yeah, I did a lot of content in November and December. And I also did the On Mars tutorial video that I've mentioned. That is now up and that is available on the channel as well. Plans for the future. Well, I'm doing the On Mars solo playthrough later this month. I am doing a solo, that's the solo playthrough. I'm doing a review of Maracaibo. I'm doing a review of Cooper Island. I'm doing the Sanctum how to play video this week and hopefully finishing it either at the weekend or next week. If my voice is still there after this, I'm actually recording the bit with me on camera and all of the audio today, and then I'm going to be filming all of the other stuff later on in the week. Although I'm very hungry. I need to have lunch. What time is it? Gosh, no wonder I'm hungry. So I'm going to be doing that. And the Tainted Grail how to play video, I'm going to be doing that as well. Once the Tainted Grail how to play video is done, I will probably be doing some Tainted Grail playthrough videos. I mean, not a lot, but I'll probably do at least chapter 1 and possibly chapter 2 as well. I want to be doing some more Marvel Champions. This Friday, I am doing a live stream of Judge Dredd Helter Skelter, not sponsored. So again, funded through the Patreon, and Flick of Faith, again, not sponsored. So they're funded through the Patreon. That this Friday. Later on this month, I'm going to be doing a live stream of Summit, which is a game from Inside Up Games. It's a mountain climbing game. It's been out a few years. But I've got the base game of that with the team expansion. So we're going to be doing teams. We're going to be doing the team game version of that Summit, and I'm going to be doing Crystal Palace later on in the month as well. They are more live playthroughs that are not actually part of the Patreon campaign, but they're made possible through the Patreon campaign. None of those are sponsored, so that's extra content that I'm giving back as a bonus. What else? Yeah, I've got a list here, and actually that is the list from October, so ignore that. What else am I doing this month? I'm going to HandyCon. So if you're going to HandyCon, you will see me there. Please stop by and say hello. I am doing demos of Sanctum for CGE, which are all now full. I'm doing demos of Letter Jam, which are not full. And I'm also doing demos of Under the Falling Skies, which is a new game for CG that's coming out this year, which is actually a solo game, interestingly. But I'm also going to be spending a lot of time at HandyCon just playing games. I have cut down the amount of work that I'm doing at these events, and I am giving myself more time to play games that I want to play. So I'm playing Maracaibo, I'm playing Cooper Island, which I need to play to do the review. I'm playing Cloudspire, I'm playing Vindication, I'm playing, oh, there's lots of other ones. Cloudspire again. Oh, Flotilla, Crystal Palace. Yeah, so I'm playing a lot of games at HandyCon that I want to play. Other things to talk about. I went to Essen, and it would be wrong if I didn't really talk about Essen, but it was 3 months ago, and I don't know if anybody really wants to hear that much about Essen, considering it's been 3 months. And I might have actually talked about it in my Essen haul video, which I can't remember. So Essen was fantastic. As always, I got there on the Tuesday. I had the Wednesday basically full of meetings with publishers and the Tuesday as well. I worked for CGE in the mornings. I then had time to myself in the afternoons where I had meetings with publishers. I didn't actually have any free time at all to play games. It was all just talking to clients, talking to potential new clients, planning for work, picking up games, which I'm going to be doing obviously live streams of, which most of them I've done. The Gaming Rules meetup, thank you to everybody who came to the Gaming Rules meetup. Had a really good time there. It'll be the same thing next year, Thursday night. At Fitzpatrick's. I've booked it with them, so that's going to be happening. I was honoured to be invited to the Spiel des Jahres party on the Friday evening. Vlada Shavatel invited me as his +1. I'm not going to say no to that. It's like a dream come true. That was incredible. I got to do the Asmodee stream where I sat next to William Attia. There was a lot of things that happened this year at Essen which were like highlights for me. Considering I've been going to Essen for like 20 years, 21 years, I've lost track. It was a good year. And then GridCon. So at the end of November, I hosted my first ever games convention. A massive thank you to everybody who came to it. It was a huge success. A few little minor niggles that we need to sort out for the next one, but overall, yeah, it went really well, and I am so happy for everybody who turned up. I also ran a little bit of a charity raffle, and a massive, massive thank you to everybody who not only donated games to the charity raffle, because lots of publishers donated lots of games. We had a lot of sponsors of the event, which were basically they donated games to the raffle. None of the sponsors at GridCon gave me any actual money for running the event, so we didn't really make much, if any, money out of the event. But all the donations were games which got put into the charity raffle. We were kind of hoping to maybe raise a few £100, maybe £500 if we were lucky. Thank you to everybody who was so generous. We raised £1,833. It was astonishing. This is a small event. This is a small 200-person event in Devon run by me, and we raised £1,833. All of that money has now gone to the Chrysalis Youth Empowerment Network. Ben Parkinson has received that money, and he sent me a receipt for it. It's all done. We turned up to the post office on the Tuesday morning with £1,833 in cash, deposited it into the bank account, and then did a bank transfer and sent it all across to Ben. So all of that money has gone directly to the charity. Yeah, can't say too much more about it because I'm getting all emotional. What they do in Africa is just fantastic, and I'm more than happy to carry on supporting them. So yeah, and as I say, I mean, the people who were at the event, your generosity was just, you know, some people put in a lot of money into the charity. Some people put in £1. Some people put in £100. There was a lot of money donated and it all went to charity. Thank you very much. GridCon 2 is booked. The hotel is booked, it's paid, it's happening. GridCon 2 is the last weekend in June. Tickets have almost sold out. If you are interested in coming to GridCon 2, please get your tickets soon, because they are going to sell out probably by the end of this month. By the time I do this next video log, they would have sold out. Now, the unfortunate thing for GridCon 2 is that the main room, we have like 4 rooms at the hotel, the main room with the biggest capacity, we only have from 7 o'clock. I have the other rooms from 9 o'clock, and I only have the main room from 7 o'clock. So here's what I'm doing for GridCon 2. Patron supporters have access to what's called a premiere ticket, and a premiere ticket is valid from 9 o'clock on the Friday morning. Non-patron supporters have access to what's called a 3-day ticket, which gives you access from 7 PM on the Friday. Now, the bar area will be available, so if you are not a patron supporter, if you want to turn up early and you want to play games in the bar area, that's absolutely fine to me. I've no problem with that at all, as long as there is space in the bar area. Obviously, we can't have 100 people turning up in the bar area because there won't be space for that. But again, giving something back to my patron supporters, I basically made the Friday morning and Friday afternoon tickets for patron supporters only. I didn't really have much choice. It was either that or it was cancelled the whole Friday morning and the whole Friday afternoon. We'd already paid for it. It was just how I was going to work out the logistics. GridCon 3, we're all back to normal. GridCon 3 is all booked. We've got the whole 3 days. So this is just it's just an exception for GridCon 2, unfortunately. But that's going to happen. I'm in the process of speaking to various publishers who are going to be there. Watch Your Game are definitely going to be there. They have got their tickets sorted. They have booked their hotel room. Yeah, you need to book your hotel rooms as well because they're selling out fast. There are other hotels available, but I would recommend staying on site if you can. So Watch Your Game are definitely going to be there, and I am going to be speaking to other publishers as well, especially the ones that were there at GridCon 1. Richard Breeze is definitely going to be there as well. So Richard Breeze, Watch Your Game, they're definitely going to be there. And when I know more about other people that are going to be there, I will advertise them as well. But yeah, GridCon 2, tickets are available. Go and book them now. I think that's it. 2 hours and 2 minutes. I thought it was going to be about 2 hours. I need to lie down and I need some food, and then I need to edit this video and get it out there. As I mentioned at the start, a massive thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for basically making these videos possible. I know a lot of people like the vlogs. Every time I say what is my favourite content what is the type of content I make that is your favourite, quite a few people say the video logs. So there you go. So I'm doing these for other people. For those people who really enjoy these video logs, I'm doing these for you. I'm not doing these for me. I'm doing these for you. And if there's something you want to see in them, let me know. I've said before on previous video logs, do you want more personal updates? Do you want to know what films I've been watching, what books I've been reading, what computer games I'm playing? If you want to know that sort of stuff, let me know. And I will include a section in there each time of, what we've been doing. Yeah, I watched a lot of games. Speaking of movies, watched a lot of movies over Christmas. Watched the new Disney one. What's it called? The Woman on the Island. Anyway, that one was good. We watched The Revenant, finally. We watched Wolf of Wall Street, finally. All these films we've been putting on the box for the last few years, we got round to watching them. Watched a lot of good films over Christmas and caught up on a lot of comedy shows as well. Anyway, there you go. If you want to know more about that sort of stuff or anything like that, let me know. So yeah, later this month, as I say, Friday, Judge Dredd, Flick of Faith. Sanctum video this week, probably going live early next week, because I always send it to CGE first. I always get them to check it. I don't want to put a video up online that's wrong and then take it down and then fix it and put another one up and it'd be wrong and take it. I don't want to do that. I want my videos to be checked first before they go up. So people will be checking the Sanctum video to make sure it's accurate, and if it's not, I'll fix it before it goes live. Tainted Grail later in the month, Handycon, more playthroughs, On Mars, all sorts of stuff. And then I will see you for the next monthly video log, which will hopefully be at the start of February, where I will announce who's won these, and then whatever the contest is for next month. Right, I'm off for scrambled egg on toast, find the cats, get a hug, have a drink, and then start editing this video. Thanks everybody again, take care, I'll see you next time.
Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.